I didn't even say it like that. Like, the way he's telling people what happened is completely twisted and makes me sound way worse than I actually was. He's spinning this whole narrative where I'm this terrible, shallow person who attacked him out of nowhere, and that's just not what happened. He's being dramatic, so dramatic, taking everything out of context and making it seem like I attacked him or something, when really, it was just a casual observation, just a comment that came out during a normal conversation, just words that shouldn't have been that big of a deal. And look, I know how this is going to sound. I know people are going to read this and immediately decide I'm the villain, that I got what I deserved, that karma came for me. But there's always more to the story. There's always context that changes everything. There's always nuance that gets lost when someone tells only their version of events. It was just a joke. Everyone compares people online. Everyone. It's like the most normal thing in the world. You scroll through Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and you see attractive people and you think, wow, they're hot, or I wish I looked like that, or you compare yourself to them, or compare your partner to them. It's completely normal human behavior. It's how our brains work. We see images and we process them, and we make judgments. It doesn't mean anything real. It doesn't mean you're going to leave your partner, or that you don't love them, or that you're actively shopping for a replacement. It's just observation, like noticing the weather or commenting on a nice car that drives by. Harmless, meaningless, nothing. I only said dating app guys look hotter because they try harder with selfies. That's literally a documented fact. It's been studied. People on dating apps put serious thought and effort into their photos. They use good lighting. They dress nicely. They find their best angles. They might even use filters or editing apps. They're literally marketing themselves to potential partners. So, of course, they look better than some random person who just rolled out of bed and threw on whatever clothes were closest. It's not personal. It's not an attack. It's just objective reality. Dating app photos are curated. Real life is not curated. That's all I was saying. He should have taken it as motivation, not an insult. Like, if I'm telling you that other guys put more effort into their appearance, the normal response would be, okay, maybe I should step up my game. Not, I'm going to have a complete meltdown and do something insane to punish you. That's what mature adults do. They hear feedback and they adjust their behavior. They don't go nuclear. And anyway, he knows I would never actually cheat. We've been together for 4 years. 4 years. I've been faithful the entire time. I've never even come close to crossing a line. So why would one comment about guys on dating apps suddenly mean I'm going to leave him? It's absurd. It's paranoid. It's him projecting his own insecurities onto me instead of dealing with them like a grown-up. I keep insisting I did nothing wrong because I didn't. I made an observation. A true observation. That's it. That's literally all I did. And somehow that justifies him doing what he did. Somehow that makes his reaction proportional. I don't think so. And here's what really gets me. I was literally sitting next to him when I said it, right there on the couch, inches away from him, looking at my phone while we were both relaxing after dinner. If I were hiding something, if I had some secret agenda or plan, I wouldn't say it out loud right in front of him. The fact that I said it proves I wasn't trying to be sneaky or hurtful. It was just a thought that came out of my mouth without any malicious intent behind it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you the whole story from the beginning so you can see how completely out of proportion his reaction was to what I actually said. My boyfriend, let's call him Jason, because I'm not going to use his real name even though he probably deserves to be exposed for what he did, and I had been together for 4 years. 4 years of what I thought was a good relationship. Not perfect, but good. We'd moved in together after year 2. We'd talked about marriage, about buying a house, about building a life together. We had a future planned. But somewhere during year 3, things started to change. Subtly at first, so subtly I barely noticed, but then more obviously, more unavoidably. Jason stopped trying. And I don't mean he stopped trying in small ways. I mean he completely, totally, utterly stopped putting any effort into his appearance or into being attractive. At the beginning of our relationship, he'd been great, really great. He dressed well, button-down shirts, nice jeans, actual shoes instead of ratty sneakers. He styled his hair every morning. He trimmed his beard regularly to keep it looking intentional instead of messy. He wore cologne. He went to the gym 3 times a week and actually cared about staying in shape. He put thought into what he wore when we went out. He wanted to look good for me. But gradually, all of that disappeared. The gym membership got cancelled because he was too busy. The nice clothes stayed in the closet while he lived in sweatpants and old college t-shirts with stains and holes. The beard went from carefully groomed to forgot to shave for a month. The cologne bottle gathered dust. The hair went unstyled, just falling however it naturally fell when he got out of the shower. He'd completely let himself go. And I don't say that to be mean or shallow. I say it because it's objectively true. He stopped caring about his appearance, stopped making any effort, stopped trying to be attractive or appealing or anything other than comfortable. And meanwhile, I was still trying. Every single day, I was still trying. I did my makeup every morning before work, even though it took 30 minutes. I kept up with my hair appointments every 6 weeks, cuts, color, treatments, the whole expensive routine. I dressed nicely even when we were just hanging out at home because I wanted to look good for him. I went to the gym 4 times a week, even though I hated it, because I wanted to stay in shape. I bought new clothes regularly to keep my wardrobe updated and interesting. I put in effort, constant daily effort, because I cared, because I wanted him to still find me attractive, because I thought that's what you're supposed to do in a relationship, continue trying even after you've already won the person over. But Jason didn't see it that way. Jason seemed to think that once we moved in together, once we were committed and settled, he could just stop. Stop trying. Stop caring. Stop making any effort at all. And I tried to hint at it. God, I tried so many times to gently suggest that maybe he could put in a little more effort. I'd suggest we go shopping together, and he'd say he didn't need anything new. I'd buy him nice clothes for his birthday, shirts, jeans, a nice jacket, and he'd never wear them. They'd just hang in the closet with the tag still on. I'd comment on guys in movies or TV shows who looked put together, saying things like, "That's a nice style," or "That color looks good," hoping he'd take the hint, but he never did. Or he did, and he just didn't care enough to change. I tried the direct approach too. I said things like, "I miss when you used to dress up for date nights," or "It would be nice if you put on cologne sometimes," or "Have you thought about going back to the gym?" And he'd get defensive, say he was comfortable, say I was being shallow, say that he shouldn't have to perform for me in his own home, say that if I really loved him, his appearance wouldn't matter. But it did matter. Of course it mattered. Physical attraction is part of a relationship. It's not the only part. It's not even the most important part, but it's a part. And when one person stops trying altogether, while the other person continues putting in daily effort, it creates resentment. I resented him. I'll admit it, I resented that I spent 30 minutes every morning making myself look presentable while he rolled out of bed, looking like he'd been hit by a truck. I resented that I spent money on nice clothes and gym memberships and beauty routines while he wore the same 5 outfits on rotation. I resented that I cared about being attractive to him while he clearly didn't care about being attractive to me anymore. And that resentment built up, for months, for a whole year really, building and building until it had to come out somehow. And it came out that Saturday night in the form of a comment about dating app guys being hotter. Was it the right way to express my frustration? Probably not. Would it have been better to sit him down and have a serious conversation about how his lack of effort was affecting our relationship? Yeah, definitely. But I'd tried that multiple times, and it hadn't worked. So the frustration came out sideways, in a comment that was meant to be a wake-up call, but ended up being a relationship ender. It was a Saturday night about 3 weeks ago. We were on the couch, our usual spot, where we spent approximately 90% of our time together, and Jason was scrolling through his phone while I was scrolling through mine. Not even really talking to each other, just existing in the same space while we both looked at screens. I was on Instagram, looking at posts from people I went to college with, and I noticed something. All the guys I knew who were single and on dating apps looked really good in their photos. Like, objectively attractive, well-groomed, well-dressed, clearly putting thought into how they presented themselves. Then I looked over at Jason in his stained sweatpants and his ratty t-shirt with holes in it, sprawled on the couch, with his hand down his pants like some kind of stereotype, and I felt this wave of, I don't know, disappointment, frustration, comparison. You know what's interesting? I said, not really thinking about how it would sound. Jason looked up from his phone. What? Guys on dating apps always look so much hotter than guys in relationships. Like, they actually try. They put effort into their photos. They look presentable. I thought this was a neutral observation, just a thing I'd noticed that was objectively true. Jason's face did this weird thing where his expression froze for a second. Are you saying I don't look good? I'm just saying that guys on dating apps put more effort into their appearance, I said, already feeling defensive, even though I hadn't meant anything personal by it. Because they're trying to attract someone, he said slowly. Like I tried to attract you, before we got together. Exactly, I said, thinking he was agreeing with me. See? You get it. You used to try. You used to care about how you looked. Wrong thing to say. I realized it the second the words were out of my mouth, but by then it was too late. So, you're saying I should still be trying to attract people? He asked, his voice getting quieter in that dangerous way that means he's actually upset. No, I'm saying you should still care about your appearance. For me, for yourself, for, I don't know, basic self-respect. That's when it started turning into an argument. The argument escalated quickly from there. Jason got defensive, saying he shouldn't have to dress up in his own home, that I was being shallow and superficial, that appearance shouldn't matter in a committed relationship. And I got frustrated, saying that just because we were in a relationship didn't mean we should completely stop trying, that I still made an effort for him, that I deserved the same consideration. And then, because I was frustrated and feeling mean, I said the thing that would end up destroying everything. Honestly, the guys on dating apps are hotter, they put in effort, unlike you. I laughed when I said it, like it was a joke, like I was being playful and teasing instead of genuinely cruel. Jason didn't laugh. He just stared at me with this expression I couldn't quite read, so I kept going, because apparently I didn't know when to stop. Relax. Maybe if you took better photos, you'd look like a 7. What am I now? He asked quietly. And God, I'm such an idiot, I shrugged. I don't know. Like a 5. On good days. I thought I was being funny. I thought we were having one of those fights where you say mean things but you don't actually mean them, and then you make up and everything's fine. I was wrong. Jason stood up, slowly, carefully, like he was making a decision in real time about what to do next. He grabbed his jacket from the back of the couch, grabbed his phone from the coffee table, and looked at me with the coldest expression I'd ever seen on his face. Good to know, he said, his voice eerily calm. I'll go find a 10 then. I laughed nervously. What? Jason, come on, don't be ridiculous. But he was already walking toward the door. Wait, where are you going? I called after him, still not quite believing this was really happening. To see how hot I can actually be, he said without looking back. And then he left. I sat there on the couch, stunned, waiting for him to come back. He was just going to cool off, I told myself. Just going to walk around the block or sit in his car for a few minutes, and then come back inside and we'd talk about this like adults. But the minutes kept ticking by, and he didn't come back. After about 10 minutes, I heard his car start in the driveway. My stomach dropped. Was he actually leaving? For real? I ran to the window and watched as he just sat there, in the driver's seat, not leaving but not coming back inside either. What was he doing? After another few minutes of watching him through the window, I finally went outside, walked up to his car, knocked on the window. He rolled it down and looked at me with that same blank expression, and I saw what he was doing. He had his phone out, and he was downloading Tinder. "What are you doing?" I asked, even though I could clearly see what he was doing. "Taking your advice," he said, without looking up from his phone. "If dating app guys are hotter, I should probably get on a dating app, see what all the fuss is about." "Jason, stop. This isn't funny." "I'm not trying to be funny." He was filling out his profile, choosing photos, writing a bio. "You're being insane. You can't just download Tinder because I made one comment." "You called me a 5, he interrupted, his voice still eerily calm. "Out of 10. You said guys on dating apps are hotter than me. You said I don't put in effort, so I'm going to put in effort, for someone who actually appreciates it." He took a selfie right there in the car. The lighting was terrible, but somehow he still looked good. Better than he'd looked in months, actually. There was something in his eyes, anger or determination or hurt or all three, that made him look alive in a way he hadn't looked in a long time. "Jason, please, I didn't mean it. I was just frustrated. I was being mean. Please don't do this." He uploaded the photo to his profile, hit submit, and within seconds, literally seconds, he got a notification. "You've got a match." My heart stopped. Who matched with you?" I stammered. He opened the message, smiled for the first time since this whole nightmare started. A smile that looked wrong on his face because it wasn't directed at me. "Someone hotter," he said, and then he started the car. "Wait, where are you going?" "Out," he said simply, and he backed out of the driveway with me standing there in my pajamas, watching him leave to go meet some stranger from Tinder because I'd called him a 5 and said dating app guys were hotter. The second his car disappeared around the corner, I ran back inside and grabbed my phone, started texting him immediately. "Are you serious?" No response. "Jason, it was a joke. You know I was joking." Delivered. Not read. "Come back. This is ridiculous. You're embarrassing yourself." Still not read. I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. He'd either turned off his phone or put it on Do Not Disturb. I paced around the house, anxiety building with every minute that passed. This couldn't be real. He couldn't actually be going on a date with someone from Tinder. People don't do that. Normal people don't download a dating app and immediately go meet someone from it all in the span of 30 minutes. But apparently, Jason did. I checked his location. We shared our locations with each other, one of those relationship trust things that now felt like a surveillance tool. He was moving, driving somewhere downtown. I kept refreshing, watching the little dot that represented him moving through the city, getting farther and farther from home. And then the dot stopped. At an address I didn't recognize. I looked it up. A rooftop bar. One of those trendy, expensive places where young professionals go to feel sophisticated. The kind of place Jason and I never went to because he always said it was too pretentious. But apparently, it wasn't too pretentious for his Tinder date. I texted him again. "I see where you are. This isn't funny anymore. Come home." Delivered. Not read. Another text. "Fine, stay there. But we both know you're not actually going to do anything. You're just trying to scare me and it's working, okay? Point made. Now, come home." Delivered. Not read. I refreshed his location obsessively. The dot didn't move. He was there, at that bar, presumably with whoever he'd matched with, for hours. The dot stayed in that exact location from 8 p.m. until after midnight, 4 hours. He was on a date for 4 hours. I tried everything: texting, calling, sending increasingly desperate and then angry messages, threatening to go down there myself, begging him to just respond, to let me know he was okay, to give me any indication that he wasn't actually serious about this. But nothing worked. At some point around 11 p.m., I started spiraling, started imagining what they might be doing. Were they just talking? Were they drinking together, flirting, laughing at jokes I wasn't part of? Was he touching her? Was she pretty? Was she prettier than me? Was he going to kiss her? That thought made me feel physically sick. At 12:47 a.m., I remember the exact time because I'd been staring at the clock obsessively for hours, watching the minutes tick by in agonizing slow motion. I heard his car pull into the driveway. The sound of the engine cut through the silence of the apartment like a gunshot. My heart leaped into my throat, relief flooding through me so intensely I felt dizzy. Finally, he was home. This nightmare was over. We could talk about this like adults. I could apologize for what I'd said. He could tell me the date was terrible and he'd only done it to teach me a lesson. We could hug and cry and promise to communicate better and never speak of this night again. I ran to the front door, my hand already reaching for the knob, ready to throw it open, ready to fall into his arms and sob out my apologies. But before I could open the door, I heard something that made my blood run cold. Voices, 2 voices, his voice, and a woman's voice, laughing. Together. No, that couldn't be right. He wouldn't. He couldn't possibly. I opened the door, my hands shaking so badly I could barely turn the knob. And my absolute worst nightmare materialized right there in front of me, so vividly real that for a second I thought I might actually be hallucinating. Jason was walking up the driveway toward the house, and behind him, stepping carefully in impossibly high heels, was a woman. But not just any woman, the most stunningly, devastatingly, perfectly beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my entire life. She was tall, really tall, had to be at least 5'9" or 5'10", and the heels she was wearing made her look even taller. She towered over me by a good 5 or 6 inches, long, glossy dark hair that fell in these perfect Pinterest-worthy waves past her shoulders, the kind of hair that looks like it's been professionally styled, even though it probably just naturally fell that way. Her makeup was flawless, and I mean flawless, even after what had to be at least 4 hours. Perfect winged eyeliner that was sharp enough to kill someone. Lips painted this deep, rich red. Skin that seemed to glow from within, not a pore or blemish visible anywhere. She looked like she'd just stepped out of a professional photo shoot. She was wearing a tight black dress that hugged every curve of what appeared to be a perfect body. The dress was short enough to show off incredible legs that seemed to go on forever, toned and smooth, and exactly the kind of legs you see in magazine ads. The heels she was wearing, expensive-looking stilettos that I could never walk in without breaking an ankle, made those legs look even better, adding this confidence to her stride that I could never achieve even on my best day. She looked like a model, like an actress, like someone who belonged on a red carpet or in a luxury perfume commercial, not walking up the driveway of an ordinary suburban apartment at 1 a.m. A literal 10 out of 10, maybe an 11, maybe even higher if such a rating existed. And they were laughing together, actually laughing. Jason had his head thrown back in genuine amusement at something she'd just said, this real, authentic laughter that I hadn't heard from him in months. She was looking up at him with this bright, flirtatious smile, her perfectly white teeth flashing in the porch light, her body language relaxed and comfortable, like they'd known each other for years instead of hours. I stood frozen in the doorway like a statue, rooted to the spot, unable to move or speak or do anything except stare at this scene that couldn't possibly be real. My brain was refusing to process what my eyes were seeing. This had to be a dream, a nightmare, some kind of hallucination brought on by stress and anxiety. But it wasn't. This was real. This was actually, genuinely, horrifyingly happening. The woman looked up and noticed me standing there, and instead of looking uncomfortable or awkward or guilty, her smile got even bigger, even brighter, like she was delighted to see me. "Oh, hi," she said in this cheerful, friendly voice that made me want to scream. She waved at me with perfectly manicured nails. "You must be the roommate. Jason mentioned you. This place is so cute. I love what you've done with it." Roommate. She thought I was his roommate, or he'd told her I was his roommate. Jason had introduced me to this woman as his roommate. I opened my mouth to correct her, to say, actually, I'm his girlfriend, or we've been together for 4 years, or anything that would establish that this woman was the intruder, not me. But before I could form words, before my brain could connect to my mouth and produce sounds, she added with this little laugh that sounded like wind chimes, "Or wait, are you the 5? The 5. The 5. The rating I'd given Jason just hours ago. He'd told her. He'd actually told this perfect stranger what I'd said, and now she was throwing it back in my face. My stomach dropped to my feet. I felt like I'd been physically slapped, the impact of those words hitting me so hard, I actually stumbled backward a step. Jason walked past me into the house without even looking at me, and the woman, this perfect, beautiful, confidence-radiating woman, followed him like she'd been there 100 times before. Like she belonged there more than I did, like this was her space now. "You said app guys were hotter," Jason said casually over his shoulder, his tone conversational, like he was commenting on the weather or discussing what to have for dinner. "Turns out app girls are too. Who knew?" He gave her a tour. Actually gave this complete stranger a tour of our home, our apartment, the space we'd been sharing for 2 years, filling with our things, our memories, our life together. "This is the living room, obviously," he said, gesturing around. "Kitchen through there. Bathroom down the hall if you need it. Make yourself comfortable." She looked around with this appraising, evaluating expression, taking in our mismatched furniture and the photos on the walls and the little details of our life, judging whether Jason's living situation met her standards. And from her expression, it apparently did. Then her eyes landed on me again, still frozen in the doorway, and something in her face shifted. Amusement, pity, superiority, all rolled into one devastating look. And then she laughed, actually, genuinely laughed, this light, musical sound that somehow made everything worse. The woman, I never got her name, never wanted to know her name, looked around the apartment with this appraising expression, like she was evaluating whether Jason's place met her standards. Then her eyes landed on me again, and she laughed. Actually laughed. "Wait, so you seriously told him that guys on dating apps are hotter than him?" she asked, her voice full of amused disbelief. "Girl, bold choice for someone who, well..." She looked me up and down, and the judgment in her eyes was clear even though she didn't finish the sentence. "What's that supposed to mean?" I managed to say, my voice coming out smaller than I wanted it to. She smiled, this sweet, venomous smile. "Just that you can't exactly compete with app girls if you couldn't even hold on to your own boyfriend without comparing him to strangers online." I felt my face burning, felt tears starting to sting my eyes. Jason just watched this exchange with that same blank expression, not defending me, not telling her to stop, just watching. "Jason," I said, turning to him desperately, "can we please talk, alone?" "Why?" he asked. "So you can tell me again how I'm a 5, how I should try harder to look like the guys on dating apps." "I didn't mean..." "You did mean it," he interrupted. "You meant every word. You've been thinking it for months. You finally just said it out loud." The woman, the 10, touched Jason's arm lightly. "Hey, I should probably go. This is getting a little intense." "No," Jason said, still looking at me. "Stay. I want her to see what a 10 actually looks like, since she's so good at rating people." She giggled. Actually giggled at that. "Jason, please," I begged, not even caring anymore how pathetic I sounded. "Please make her leave." He considered this for a moment. Then he turned to the woman and said, "She said she wants someone hotter, so I'm testing if I can do better too." The woman's eyes lit up. "And, can you?" Jason looked at her, really looked at her, and smiled. "Yeah, I think I can." He helped her put on her jacket, walked her to the door, and right there, right in front of me, she leaned in close and whispered something in his ear that made him smile. "Call me," she said, loud enough for me to hear. He nodded. "I will." And then she left, throwing one more bright, victorious smile at me over her shoulder as she walked out the door. The second the door closed behind her, leaving just me and Jason alone in the apartment that suddenly felt like hostile territory, I completely lost it. "You brought a random girl home to humiliate me," I screamed, my voice coming out shrill and broken and desperate. "What is wrong with you? What kind of person does that? Are you insane? Are you actually insane?" Jason turned to look at me slowly, deliberately, and the expression on his face was one I'd never seen in 4 years of being together. Cold, hard, completely devoid of the warmth and affection I'd gotten so used to seeing there. He looked at me like I was a stranger, like I was nothing. "You did it first," he said quietly, his voice so calm it was terrifying. "You compared me to strangers. You made me feel inadequate. You made me feel like I wasn't enough. So I compared you too. Now you know how it feels." "It wasn't supposed to be real," I screamed, tears streaming down my face now, hot and fast and unstoppable. "I was just talking, just making an observation, just expressing frustration. I wasn't going to actually do anything. I wasn't going to leave you. It was just words." "Neither was I," he interrupted, his voice still that same terrifying calm. "Until you pushed me to prove I could." "I didn't push you to bring another woman to our home," I cried. "I didn't push you to go on an actual date with some stranger. I didn't push you to humiliate me in front of someone who looks like that." "You pushed me to prove my worth," he said. "You said I was a 5. You said dating app guys are hotter. You said I don't try. You made me feel worthless. So I went and proved I wasn't worthless. I proved that someone who's objectively more attractive than you, by the way, could see value in me even if you couldn't." The words hit like physical blows. "So what? You're just going to date her? Replace me? Throw away 4 years because I made one stupid comment?" "One comment?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it, just bitterness and pain. "It's been months of comments, months of comparisons, months of little hints that I'm not good enough, not hot enough, not trying hard enough. Tonight you finally just said it out loud. You finally told me what you've been thinking all along, that I'm below average, that I'm a 5, that I don't measure up to the guys you see on apps. You finally was honest about how you see me." "I didn't mean it," I sobbed. "I was frustrated and angry, and I said something cruel, but I didn't mean it." "Yes, you did," he said flatly. "You meant every word. You're just sorry I called your bluff. You're just sorry I proved you wrong about what I could attract." He walked past me toward our bedroom. Except it wasn't our bedroom anymore, was it? It was his bedroom now. I was being evicted from my own life. "Where are you going?" I asked, my voice small and broken. "To bed. You can sleep on the couch," he said without turning around. "Jason, please." I reached for his arm, but he pulled away from my touch like I was contaminated. "We're done," he said, the words falling like an axe blade severing us completely. "Pack your things tomorrow. I want you out by the end of the week." "You can't be serious," I whispered. "You can't throw away 4 years over this." "You threw it away," he said, finally turning to look at me one last time. "When you rated me, when you compared me to strangers, when you made me feel like I was settling you instead of someone you chose. You threw us away. I'm just accepting it." And then he went into the bedroom and closed the door. Locked it with a click that sounded final and absolute. Leaving me standing in the hallway of the apartment I could no longer call home, crying so hard I couldn't breathe, my entire world crumbling around me because I'd called my boyfriend a 5 and said dating app guys were hotter, and he'd proved that dating app girls were too. It's been 2 weeks since that night. Jason meant what he said. We're done. Actually done. He's been cold and distant, barely speaking to me, treating me like a roommate he can't wait to get rid of. I've been sleeping on the couch, looking for apartments, trying to figure out how to rebuild my life after destroying it with a few careless words. And the worst part, he's still talking to her. The 10. I've seen the messages on his phone when he leaves it on the counter, seen her name pop up with heart emojis, seen plans for another date. He's moving on. Already. Like our 4 years together meant nothing, like I'm already forgotten. Meanwhile, I'm here, devastated, trying to understand how everything went so wrong so fast. But here's the thing that I keep coming back to, the thing that makes me feel like maybe, just maybe, I'm not entirely in the wrong here. I didn't deserve that kind of revenge. I made a comment. One comment. Okay, several comments over several months, but still, they were just words, just observations, just frustrations being expressed. I wasn't actually going to leave him. I wasn't actually shopping for a replacement. I was just venting, processing, expressing disappointment in a relationship that had gotten stale. He took it literally. He took it so literally that he went nuclear. Downloaded a dating app, went on a date with a woman who looks like a supermodel, brought her to our home to humiliate me, and then dumped me. That's not proportional. That's not a reasonable response to someone saying their partner could take better photos. I was only trying to motivate him, trying to push him to care about his appearance again, trying to get him to put in the effort he used to put in when we first started dating. He shouldn't have taken it so literally. He should have understood that I was frustrated and handled it like an adult, by talking to me about it, by asking me what I needed, by working with me to fix our relationship. Instead, he went straight to revenge, straight to proving a point in the cruelest way possible. Girls say this stuff all the time. We complain about our boyfriends, we make comparisons, we express frustration when they stop trying. It's normal. It's how we process our feelings. It doesn't mean we're going to leave them or cheat on them or actually act on any of these thoughts. But apparently, Jason didn't understand that. Apparently, he took everything at face value and decided to punish me for being honest about my feelings. But late at night, when I'm lying on the couch in the apartment that's no longer mine, staring at the ceiling and replaying that conversation over and over, I think about what I actually said. The guys on dating apps are hotter. They put in effort. Unlike you. Maybe if you took better photos, you'd look like a 7. Like a 5. On good days. Those weren't just observations. Those weren't just frustrated comments. Those were cruel. Deliberately cruel. I didn't just tell him he could improve. I told him he was below average. That strangers on the internet were more attractive than him. That I was settling for someone who was a 5 when I could have a 7 or an 8 or a 10. I compared him. Explicitly. And I made him feel worthless. And then I'm surprised when he proved he had worth after all. When he proved he could attract a woman who's objectively more attractive than me. When he showed me what it feels like to be compared and found wanting. He didn't just match with any woman. He matched with a 10. A literal perfect 10. Someone so beautiful that standing next to her, I felt like a 5. And maybe that was the point. Maybe he wanted me to feel exactly what I'd made him feel. To experience the humiliation of being rated, judged, and found inadequate. Maybe I deserved it, but I'm not ready to admit that yet. I'm moving out this weekend, found a studio apartment across town that I can barely afford, starting over at 28 because I destroyed a 4-year relationship by calling my boyfriend a 5. Jason has been civil but cold, helping me pack without actually engaging with me, answering practical questions about splitting our stuff but refusing to discuss our relationship or whether there's any chance of reconciliation. There isn't. I know there isn't. Not after what I said. Not after what he did. Too much damage. Too much hurt, too much pride on both sides. And apparently, he has plans with the 10 this weekend, right after I move out, like he's already moved on, like I've already been replaced.